Grand Shipyard of the Universal Omni-Union, unknown species description. As I struggled to get my bearings, my heart raced. We had climbed through a breach in the wall, which should have been open to the void because it was meant to be outside of hull. We're inside a comparatively tiny space with seats and other strange electronics. A shudder that could only be explained by the shuttle separating from the large ship responded to my query. I was wondering what would happen next as I stared at the aliens who had taken me away. One of them gestured to a bench and said, "Sit down." I obeyed, wondering if the huge metal creature was a new Omni-Union tool. What else could it be? It could be another mechanized warrior archetype, but one that is far more dangerous than the robotic platforms they usually use, such as the platforms that came before the current ones, which would eventually be phased out in favor of these ones. The person giving orders placed its strange weapon on a nearby table, then grabbed its head and twisted it until, to my complete surprise, it pulled upward and revealed its identity. What is with me? Have my relations with the rebellion been discovered? Are they acting as judges? Am I to be a test case for new interrogation techniques carried out by these towering tools of war? Head to be a helmet, it was organic underneath, and two odd, piercing blue eyes stared at me icily from the face of a species I had never seen before. Omega asked, "What led to make this quick?" I tilted my head in perplexity, and the speakers around me cut off the overdrones 655 L 894 to 131. You are hereby detained. The speakers went on quickly. As a prisoner of war, I asked my adrenal pumps to try to do their duties while keeping the blue-eyed alien under control and quiet. Under the fourth concordance of the unification of stellar systems, you have certain rights of which you must be informed. With honor and dignity, and will be shielded from violence, intimidation, and other abuses. The only exception to this rule is if you are being interrogated during a zealous conflict, in which case you will be entitled to reasonably safe housing with enough food, clothing, and medical attention. Because you are not a registered species, it will be your duty to communicate your needs to your carers. In addition to not being punished for engaging in hostilities, you are also not compelled to fight against your leaders or work in hazardous, unhealthy, or dehumanizing conditions. The remaining rights provided by the fourth concordance of the. Do you understand these rights as they have been recited? I suppose I answered, what I don't understand is who you are at war with in the Omni-Union. That's right. I had asked the question without thinking there could be a positive response. The aforementioned exception has nullified the unification of stellar systems. How have we not heard of these amazing aliens who are actively fighting the mines and have reached the grand vessel? This is a significant change, but why me? I asked because I have been observing your overdrone, S655 L 894 to 131, and the speaker mentioned that you have been acting differently from the other overdrones. The other aliens started to take off their helmets, one after the other, while maintaining their weapons aimed at me, and I think I see why you're involved in a rebellion. I sat in awe as I watched, and I said, "Why are you?" I am Omega, an artificial intelligence that was developed by, and is currently employed by the United Systems, a coalition of multiple species that live in a galaxy far away, have an artificial intelligence that can streamline conversations. The only AI I have dealt with directly is hardly able to respond to simple inquiries. Anything more complicated would cause it to provide false information because its programming demands that it respond, even if that response is incorrect. This AI had changed the tone of their message by using a figure of speech and reflections. The only AI intelligent enough to do that is mech. I asked quietly, "No, I am not organic in origin, and I am much more advanced than they are." It said with a raspy laugh. "Now, I have some questions for you based on your responses. You might be released from custody." Even though my initial astonishment at their appearance was gradually waning, I was nevertheless afraid of the aliens as they silently gazed at me with two eyes each. I decided to respond to the AI's inquiries as promptly and truthfully as possible. "How big is the rebellion?" Omega inquired. I'm not sure how I responded, but the brown-skinned alien replied, laughing, "How's that going? We work in cells, doing everything we can to attack the Omni-Union and either stop or delay the increase of their strength until ours can catch up." I don't think I acknowledged that the Omni-Union's might is unfathomable, but how can we? Even if it weren't for the fact that the Omni-Union is actively killing an unfathomable number of sentient beings in far-off galaxies, whether it's with a death blow or a minor wound, we must do everything in our power to stop them. We are well aware of the junk activities, Omega replied sternly. We are slaves, and many of us die every day. On the subject, would you be able to help the rebel leaders communicate with us if we gave you a device that could communicate with us? My handler sends me recommendations for sabotage, and I report back whether I succeed, fail, or decline. I'm not even positive if the rebellion has leaders. Where it obtains these recommendations, the alien leader questioned whether I met missions, but I replied that I was free to choose whether or not to carry out the sabotage. This might be a translation error, but a mission is something that one is required to at least try to perform, so can you help? Conversations with your handler, we have a saying that goes, be wary of a friend that you do not know. How can I be certain that you will not become our new, even harsher masters? Omega said, yes, and would you be willing to do so? I looked at the assembled aliens, whose faces changed from stern to angry at my paw. Slavery is illegal in the United States. The brown extraterrestrial Saidwe are not part of the United Systems. I pointed out that, based on your own eye, it's a long way off. If you can assist us in conquering the Omni-Union, what will stop you from doing so? First, Omega isn't our eye. We've banned slavery because we believe it to be immoral. Therefore, that's what's stopping us. I'm very confident it's its own entity. Provide guarantees, but it's impossible to completely eliminate your uncertainties. There are other applicants for the position of communications facilitator, Omega interrupted, but if you don't comply, you will remain in detention as a prisoner of war, and we will use them in place of you. You will hold me in detention for however long I requested till the end of the war. After realizing how simple the tasks the rebellion expected of me were, my anxiety had nearly completely subsided, but this conversation had forced me to face some harsh realities. The blue-eyed alien said, or until our ship is destroyed by the OU. I felt a sudden weight on my chest that I hadn't felt since my handler first approached me. We prod and sometimes leave a small cut, but that isn't nearly enough to take down an NL, so rebellion wouldn't succeed in my lifetime. To my chagrin, I realized that my hesitation was a result of Ivan, the mythological predator, being so enormous that it was as large as the Omni-Union. Anyone who wanted to see freedom would have to fight and kill. Was not because of mistrust, which was merely a convenient excuse. Rather, it was cowardice showing its hideous head. The idea of having to fight and kill my former co-workers, employees, and friends made my spine tingle and put a lump in my throat. Is this how we all feel? If we were all afraid to fight, there would never have been a fight. Be a rebellion? No, I need to take control of myself. Rebellions are not made up of cowards, so if I ever want to see the Omni-Union fall, I will have to push it with my own hands. All right, I said grimly, what do I have to do? I suspect that you use a specialized microchip to make contact with the... We will require access to it, Rebellion Omega retorted. Microchip, I asked, not knowing the name, the thing you put under your right eye when you're by yourself. Oh, the data card. I took a deep breath to calm myself before opening the secret storage compartment in my left thigh, taking out the data card, and handing it to the blue-eyed alien. Approached one of the electronic gadgets, laid the card on its surface, and as a light line appeared beneath it, a number of tiny mechanical limbs moved around it. Omega stated the data, as I can see. SHART modifies a number of your software programs. It keeps in touch with the use and generates a ghost profile that looks like your present status. A messaging network that allows you to communicate with your handler is one of the features that the network then modifies your user interface to provide you with. Yes, that's right, I said. We'll need to access this network to speak to my handler, but no, I have a better idea. You may be more obedient than your handler. Are dependent on how the network is configured, but I might be able to talk to the leader or leaders of your rebellion directly, avoiding your handler completely. That would save us a tremendous deal of time. All right, I've finished the card. Kindly give it back to him. After removing the data card from the machine's surface, Staff Sergeant Blue Eyes approached me, studied me for a moment, then held out my card. Taking another deep breath, I took it and put it back in my thigh. Now, according to what I asked, We're going to take you back to the Grand Vessel as if nothing had happened." The AI laughed. "I've made sure that the data network in your area has been damaged so that you'll have a reasonable reason why you were cut off, and after everything has calmed down, get in touch with your handler as usual. Should I tell them about you? Information security is paramount, and the Omni Union is unaware of our presence. Your handler may alter that if we are discovered, and the chances of victory significantly decrease." "All right, I understand if I am. Since I can't reach your leaders, I'll contact you with more instructions. If you try to notify the Omni Union about us, I'll stop you and vent the atmosphere at your location, regardless of who is with you." "Oh, I see." A little shudder shook the shuttle that's our stop blue. Staff AR pointed to the hatch in the floor and said, "Once that opens, climb through it and go about your business." The brown alien added, laughing, "Stow it, Simmons." The aliens put their helmets back on, taking turns guiding me. "Yes, Staff's AR, don't be rude," I replied as I complied. After I replied, a grinding noise came from the floor, and we waited in silence for it to open. A sharp hiss made me jump, and the floor slowly opened to reveal one of the Grand Vessel's many corridors. With a final glance back at the aliens, I climbed. "Business, contact your handler as soon as possible, and make up a reason to do so." I almost fell on my face through the hole, but I was able to catch myself in time because one of the aliens said, "Oh, okay," and I looked nervously down each side of the hallway as the hatch closed behind me. As I started to head towards my office, I heard the aliens talking to each other just. "You never saw us before the hatch closed," the brown alien's voice whispered mockingly. "You're so damn cool. Johnson, please stop talking. Simmons,